I briefly mentioned in the first video about the carbines, and again, you're going to want to use these crouched mostly and zoom in a little. It's very easy to use these weapons, they're very accurate, just tap. This is something you're going to see pretty much every NC doing, humping a corner or a wall, whatever. The jackhammer is beautiful close range, but you gotta wait for them to come to you usually. You don't want to sit at the top of the stairs with the jackhammer. You want to engage mid, like here, or closer, but even then, if an MCG is coming around the corner, they're still going to likely have a drop on you. The way the netcode in this game works, anyone humping the corner is going to have a little bit, I don't know, half a second before the other person is able to see. And you'll just, I'll try and show you in third person. Try and duck right as you shoot. You'll notice the bloom goes down when you do duck. It's not necessary, it's not, I mean, it helps, but it's not going to be the determining factor on most of your fights. Maybe some of them, but not all of them. If you do happen to loot another faction's weapons, you can stash them in your locker. And that's actually where I'll be pulling them out from, if you're wondering. MCG doesn't bloom till the 13th shot. That was 12 shots and it didn't bloom, as you saw. But when it does bloom, it gets to be pretty big. You can duck and all that. It does make it slightly more accurate, but again, you're mostly ducking to lower your profile. And at the top of stairs, it can be a pretty big deal. You don't want to be here when you're shooting down. There's somebody else, you're just going to see their head from down here. And if they're ducking, you're going to see even less. And this is a pretty good mid-range, long-range, close range. It's got about the same, it's 0.33 seconds longer on the time to kill than the jackhammer. And the jackhammer is a 3-shot weapon. Let's reload that. So it's a pretty powerful gun. It can be beaten by the carbines, but it's unlikely, at least in close range. The lasher does benefit from ducking every single time, and in fact, you're going to get your best use out of it if you do just tap it and fire every single time that you are ducking. It benefits very heavily from that. However, when you're up close and personal, like if they are very close to you, and you're going to want to be very close to this, them, you're going to want to be close to them because this weapon has a travel time on its orbs, and that people can dodge them. It's not unusual, and they're very hard to hit with at long range because of that. These are kind of like a it's a special case weapon. It is good close range, and it is good long range if you are still zoomed in and just tapping the fire. But typically it can be outclassed by the jackhammer or the MCG. You're gonna have a harder time killing with those two. It does have it is unique in that it doesn't require you to hug the corners. You can hug them for that benefit that I told you about earlier, but it's not necessary. These really benefit from stationary positions where you're ducked and zoom in. Nobody's really going to be able to hit you. You got a very low profile, you got this massive thing in your way. Anyone that comes down the stairs while you're crouched, they're dead. It's two people, probably kill them no problem. 3 people, you're gonna kill at least 1. But if they're all shooting at you, it's a pretty good chance you're gonna die. You're gonna have to watch out for decies there. because that's the only real counter to people camping in those cubbies. Against TR, that's pretty common because TR will carry Desis inside because their Desis are better than their Empire-specific launcher. And speaking of Empire-specific launchers, here's the Phoenix. It's camera guided for the NC. If you played PlanetSide 2, it should be similar. I've never actually used the Phoenix in PlanetSide 2. Very easy to use. You are vulnerable while you're using that camera. The Lancer is just a point and click, and the Striker is actually very nice against VS Maxes because they can fly, and it's one of the best anti-air Empire-specific weapons out there because it has that lock-on ability. It's good in general, keeping them down, keeping them peppered. It doesn't work. None of these really work that well solo against the vehicle, but in groups, 2 or 3 people running Strikers or Phoenixes or Lancers can take down vehicles pretty quickly. You might notice, hey, you're not covering the other weapons. It's because most of the other weapons don't really matter. The Spiker you're never going to be able to use. The Spear is really only useful for infiltrators, but even then, most of them are going to want to prefer the Scatter Pistol, the Amp, one of those two, or the Repeater. Repeater's pretty nice too. Yeah, Scorpion, Dragon. Dragon's a flamethrower. Scorpion's an odd weapon that I'm really not that great at using. I can use it, and I have used it to kill before, but it's not ideal. Special Assault has a Thumper. It's seen as poor play, at least in small squads. Larger groups, you know, if you got like a platoon fighting another platoon, Thumpers are game. Pretty much every weapon is game.